Good afternoon, young phenoms. Welcome to another installment of the Sessions with the Sensei. Today we'll be working on simplifying expressions. Alright, so I get this question a lot. Why are there letters in math? So if there are a couple of you guys that are just kind of getting into pre-algebra and you have began to start seeing variables in your problems, this is the perfect lesson for you. Let's get into it. Alright, so when we get into pre-algebra, it's important to understand that our equations and our questions in general are not only just going to involve numbers. Okay, so when we're dealing with equations and questions, we have to understand that we're dealing with polynomials. So the definition of a polynomial is an expression consisting of more than two algebraic terms. Basic ways, we're just saying more than one type of number. For instance, for a monomial, if we're looking, we have 7x plus 3x. Since those two are the same type of number, we could actually put these together and that would give us 10x. Similar if we had 7 plus 3. 7 plus 3 is also a monomial because those are just one type of number. They're both whole numbers. Now for a binomial, we have negative 5x plus 3x squared. Now these are two different types of numbers, so I couldn't put those together and say negative 2x squared. Okay, we couldn't do that. These are two different types of numbers, so this is actually as simplified as it could go. For a trinomial, we have three different types of numbers. Now we have 3x squared, 7x, and then we have negative 5. That's as simplified as this could go as well. The biggest advice I could give you when you begin pre-algebra, whether you're in the 5th or 6th grade, just understand that when you're dealing with polynomials, you're going to be dealing with different types of numbers. So here are a few simplifying rules that's important to keep in mind when we're dealing with simplifying expressions. Okay, number one, you can only put together a number and variable by dividing or multiplying. Okay, you cannot put together, if I had 3 plus x. 3 plus x would not give us 3x. Okay, 3 plus x is as simplified as that could go. However, if I had 3 times x, we could put those together. That would give us 3x. If I had 3 divided by x, that would give me 3 over x. The next important concept that we're going to work on today is what's known as distributive property. If you look at the root word in distributive, the root word is distribute. Okay. And when I think of the word distribute, I think of to put out, to give. Okay, so when we're dealing with distributive property, you're going to take this number outside of the parentheses and you're going to multiply it by both of the values inside of the parentheses. Okay, so for this one I have 7 times negative 5x plus 8. When I distribute this 7 to both numbers inside of the parentheses, that will give us 7 times negative 5x. Keep in mind that's a positive 7 plus 7 times a positive 8. Okay, so 7 times a negative 5x, that would give us negative 35x. And then 7 times 8, good, is 56 plus 56. Now when I distribute, that's as simplified as it could go. I'm going to see that a few times in some of the problems today. Alright, let's get this erased. Alright, for this first problem I have 8 plus 5x minus 10x. So one thing that I like to do is use squares and circles. So since this is what we would call a binomial, meaning it's two different types of algebraic terms, I have numbers and variables. I'm going to put a square around. And then for my numbers, I'm going to put a circle around. So for this next one, I got a positive 8, put a circle around it. Then I got 5x, and that's plus 5x. So I'm going to put a square around it. Then I have a negative 10x. So we're going to put a square around it as well. Typically what I try to do is keep my numbers and variables at the beginning of my equations. So let's start with a positive 5x minus 10x. So it's a positive 5x minus 10x. Okay, that will give us negative 5x. And then we have an 8 by itself, so plus 8. That actually cannot be simplified anymore. Okay, let's try to see what we can do with this next one. We have 12 minus 7v plus 8 plus 15v minus 13. Alright, so for this 12, I'm going to circle it. I'm going to circle this positive 8. Then I'm going to circle this negative 13. Alright, then I'm going to put a square around this negative 7v and a square around this positive 15v. So let's start with our two squares. So we got negative 7v plus 15v. So that's the same thing as 15v minus 7v, which would give us 8v. And then we have a positive 12 plus 8 minus 13. So we can start with the 12 plus 8. Fix that 3 a little bit. We can start with the 12 plus 8. What's 12 plus 8? Good. 20. And then what's 20 minus 13? That would give us 7. So 8v plus 7. Been a minute since I wrote with my smart pen. Let me get back in the groove though. Alright, good job. Let's keep it going. We got a few more. So I got b minus 3 plus 5 minus 4v. And excuse me, that's minus 4b. So I'm going to put a square around this b. You can also add a 1 to it as well. So that'd be 1b minus 4b. Then we got the negative 3. Then the positive 5. We got 1b minus 4b. So 1b minus 4b. Good. Negative 3b. Fix it. Negative 3b. And then negative 3 plus 5. Same thing as 5 minus 3 plus 2. That was pretty easy. Alright. So now we have a binomial, meaning we have two different types of algebraic terms, but we have numbers that have exponents and then numbers that just have variables. So I'm going to put a square around this 9x squared. I'm going to put a square around this 7x to the power of 2. Now I'm going to put circles around negative 10x and negative x. So let's start with our squares. So we got 9x squared plus 7x squared. So what's 9 plus 7? 16. We're going to keep our x to the power of 2, also known as x squared. Now we got what's negative 10x minus 1x. We got negative 10x minus 1x. Algebra rule, whenever you got two negatives on opposite sides, you want to keep the sign negative, add those two numbers up. 10 plus 1 is 11. So it would have been negative 11x minus 11x. I'm going to come back and do a few video on integers as well. So we got 16x squared minus 11x. That can no longer be simplified. So that's our answer. Pretty good. Let's get this cleared away. All right, so we're going to start this problem by distributing. Anytime we got a number outside of a parentheses, remember that means you have to distribute or take that number and multiply it times both values inside of the parentheses. So we got negative 8 times 4x, and we got negative 8 times 3 and minus 9. All right, so what's negative 8 times 4x? Think, what's a negative times a positive? It would give us a negative. So negative 32x. We got negative 8 times 3. That would be negative 24. We got minus 9. All right, we have to simplify this because I have two common terms. So the negative 24 and the minus 9 can actually go together. Bring this negative 32x down. So when I'm subtracting integers and I have two negatives on opposite ends, we're going to keep the negative and then you add the number. So it's 24 plus 9. That would have given us 33. So negative 33. We'll continue working on some more of those integer rules. And I'll also be uploading a video with just integers as well soon. All right, for this next one, we have 12y plus 5 times 9y minus 11 minus 7. So we got to distribute this positive 5 to both these values within the parentheses. So I can bring this 12y down. Then we got what's a positive 5 times 9y. So positive 45y. Then we have what's a positive 5 times a negative 11. So a negative times a positive will give us a negative 55. That's minus 7. All right, so these two terms can go together. So I'm going to square them together. Then these two terms can go together. So I'll circle those together. So what's 12y plus 45y? So that's 57y. And then we have a negative 55 minus 7. So I have two negatives on opposite ends of each other. I'm going to keep the sign and add up my numbers. So it's 65 plus 7. 55 plus 7 gives us 62. 57 minus 62. That would be our simplified answer. All right, this next one is probably the longest one we've done. So we got a negative 6 times negative 2r minus 7 minus r minus 4 times r plus 4. So, of course, we got to distribute these numbers outside of the parentheses. Now, we got a negative 6 times a negative 2r. So, when I'm multiplying two negative numbers, that would give me a positive. Okay, so negative 6 times negative 2r would be positive 12r. Then negative 6 times negative 7 will actually be positive 42. Okay, we're getting it. Then minus 1r. And then we got what's a negative 4 times r. Okay, so that's negative 4r. And then we got a negative 4 times 4. That will give us negative 16. All right, let's combine our like terms. Okay, so 12r, negative 1r, negative 4r. Then we got 42. 16. So let's start with our squares, of course. So we got 12r minus 1r will give us 11r. Now what's 11r minus 4r? So that will give us 7r. And then what's 42 minus 16? That would give us 26. So 7r plus 26 will be our final simplified answer. All right, now for this last one, we can see a consecutive set of y's. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a 1 in front of all of these variables. Anytime you have variables, in whether it's a negative or a positive, if it's by itself, you can put a 1 in front of it. And these are known as coefficients. Okay, so any number in front of a variable is known as a coefficient. So since I'm adding variables, we're going to add up the coefficients. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that would have been 6y. And that's plus a negative 8y. Now me personally, plus negatives don't bother me. But when I can, I just try to focus on minus. So I would just say 6 minus, no, 6y, excuse me, minus 8y. Since 8y is more and it's negative, we know that our answer will be negative. Okay, 8 minus 6 is 2, so that would have given us negative 2y. Thank you so much for watching this video and taking some time out to practice some of these algebra concepts. I'll be uploading more videos weekly, so please stay tuned for more. Like and subscribe.